man, this big, beautiful beast barely fits in frame. So talk about a video I wasn't ever planning on making, and yet, here it is, the NERF rival Prometheus. This is not a standard review in any fashion, because I've actually had this blaster for weeks. I had no plans on ever doing a video on it until I was done modding it, and there is a mod that I got this specifically for, and I got this with special thanks to my new friend Greg, but this is one of those blasters where when it was immediately announced, I was extremely dismissive and almost antagonistic towards its existence, because it is just a bigger Nemesis, and I felt like it wasn't worth it, and it is not worth it, but it is possibly, and I say this completely genuine, with no hyperbole, it is one of the best blasters Hasbro has ever produced. Every single function of this blaster works flawlessly out of the box and works exceptionally well. It is the jack of all trades and master of even some, but definitely not the end-all be-all overpowered just weapon of mass destruction on the NERF battlefield. Of course, its main crux for not being that is the fact that it does use Rival, and Rival, especially in modified games, is inherently flawed and will be outranged and, most importantly, outshot at distance by just about every single NERF dart you could possibly imagine. And, well, what is the NERF rival Prometheus? Because I've been talking about it here and I haven't even fully explained if you have no idea what you're looking at. It is a new 2018 rival blaster. Comes with a massive dart hopper on it. This thing is like, what? It comes with 200 rounds, but I think full, and this is about as full as I could get it. I could probably squeeze a couple more rounds in here, but it's supposed to be like 250 rounds in one blaster. And if you think this looks big, you're not wrong, but let's just put like an Infinus for scale. Yeah, it's really not that big in the grand scheme of things. In fact, it's basically the size of the Nemesis. Although, I would argue in a much more comfortable form factor, because unlike being like some kind of pseudo rifle thing, like it's trying to be a 96 gal or something, no, it's instead being pretty much a minigun kind of looking thing. That's basically what it's trying to be. It's meant to be shot off the hip to a degree, and it works. It works really well. This grip up here, which is completely removable, you press a button right there and you can swap sides and stuff like that, is absolute garbage and I hate it, but the actual grip back here, the controls on it, everything, just about everything else on the blaster, I absolutely enjoyed. It does come with a strap, but I never put it on, and of course the feet that go on the bottom of the blaster that I never put on. You can of course remove the strap whenever you want, but once you put the feet in, they're not supposed to come off unless you open up the blaster, and I personally hated them. As you can see, I don't have the feet on there, and mine sits perfectly fine, and they really add bulk to the side of the blaster, which I don't like. It's amazingly, for what it is, thin, without any of that kind of stuff on there. And yes, the hopper is still completely removable. You can remove it just like that. As you can see, massive agitator right there, and a massive feeding thing right there. It is huge, and that says a lot, because this thing feeds so reliably and effortlessly. Even though it fires so fast, it's ridiculous. It is buttery smooth to use. And that is the one reason why this thing is way better than the Nemesis. It is amazingly good at what it does. And you don't have to worry about any stupid battery decel things, or even using the NERF rechargeable battery that you could already buy, because the battery is actually right here in the back. It has a screw that you can use to fasten it to the back of the blaster here. I've never seemed to need that, and it's a big, chunky 9.6 volt nickel metal hydride battery. It works really good and lasts a really long time. It does take a few hours to charge, but what the heck ever. It honestly, for the way they were trying to design this blaster to look, I think this is perfect. And well, yeah, it's got safeties on the side of it. This is your rev trigger right here. This is your firing trigger. It's got a little LED indicator thing right there. If I rev it up, you can see it turns green, lets you know everything's going. I've never actually got this thing to change any other color, ever. Maybe if there's a jam or some kind of random thing, it flashes and lights up. I don't have the instructions around. Maybe it does something. Like I said, this is not a normal review, but it's always been green for me. And yes, if the battery is slightly lower, it fires slightly weaker, and this thing has not changed, but I've never ran the battery completely out, so I'm not quite certain. It does have some kind of brain board inside of this thing, and it has a little reset switch for that entire mechanism down here, but again, never had an issue with it. I do have some minor issues with this kind of safety thing, because it seems to turn on whenever it wants, because it's not... It does click into place, and it clicks really nicely, but if it's just slightly out of place, it doesn't really like to work, and that's kind of the main issue with that. But, oh man, fires extremely fast, and it's really powerful. Like, that was sideways, and it only emptied that. If I put it... Like, yeah, it is just insane. Like, look how many shots that was. This thing is not to be trifled with at all. Is it, like, massively overpowered, unstoppable? No, because even stock, it only fires, you know, around the 100 FPS mark, and even if you were to modify it, I mean, yeah, you'd burn through ammo even quicker, and you'd spray rounds all over the place. Probably wouldn't be all that accurate. I say that because this is bar none the most accurate rifle blaster, or any kind of ball blaster I've gotten my hands on. I don't know what it is about the Prometheus, but this thing is accurate beyond all reason. I don't know how well that would translate to having like a higher FPS on it. Maybe it would completely screw itself up and start doing what I expect rifle rounds to do, but single-shotting this thing is stupidly easy, and the accuracy is far better than any other rifle blaster. It's still not comparable to darts, I'm gonna say that straight up, but it is much, much better than I would ever expect it to be. And that's one of the reasons why all of these mechanics working together make the Prometheus an amazing blaster. Really, really good. I hope you have a lot of money, because not only does this blaster cost a lot, but the ammo costs a lot as well. But the fact that I can keep this blaster completely charged up, no toggle switch or anything, I can just completely leave it turned on. It will automatically shut everything down after a couple of minutes or so. With a full hopper, I don't have to worry about ARs going bad or darts getting crushed and not working. No, everything can fit in here. I could have this either slung on my body or hooked up to something on my gear, or I could just, you know, have it just, oh, if I want to do an impromptu or I want to switch to this blaster, no fuss, plug everything in, and it will do its job exceptionally well. Seriously, I'm not a big fan of like this muzzle design and stuff like that, but it's a great blaster. I don't know why it has a rail on the bottom right here. It does have like another kind of small rail right here too, which would probably get in the way of your hand and stuff like that. Not that they made a whole lot of attachments for rival stuff, but those are in fact things. But like, just like the grip, the angle, the comfort, the controls, everything is really good with the Prometheus, and it's not all that heavy. In fact, if you want to one-hand this thing, you very easily can. It's not that hard. Even with a maxed out hopper, you could dual wield these things. But there is a problem that I have with this, and one that's very glaring, and seems like even Hasbro, or maybe just every retailer on the planet, is currently trying to rectify, and that's, they want $200 for this thing, which puts it up there with some of the most expensive blasters ever. We're talking the Terra Scout, something I've done a review on, which I traded one for this, because I had two. I traded one of them for this, and with the Terra Scout, I have a remote-controlled drone tank that is full auto, that has a camera feed to a controller, that also records video, and, of course, it has up-down controls, it moves left, right, and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of tech, and that's a good blaster on top of that thing. Like, that's not a bad blaster by any means. I mean, it fires Elite Standard, it works really good, rechargeable battery, all that stuff, and it's about $200. In fact, right now, you can usually pick them up for about $150 or so everywhere. This thing, the only thing is that while it works amazingly well, there is nothing on the Prometheus that requires this thing costing $200. And it's funny because I posted on the community page in Discord and even on my Facebook, these things went down to $140 on Amazon. In fact, pretty much immediately after they came out, Target was doing buy two, get one free on Nerf. That's how this one came into my possession, because instead of buying 3 of them for $600, you bought 3 of them for about $400, and, well, the best part about that is then you're only paying $130 per blaster. But even after that, Kohl's, the place where we lamented the fact that they always have such expensive blasters, was selling them for $136. It's being discounted pretty much everywhere because I don't think this massive blaster is selling even at that $140 mark. I don't know how well I can recommend this blaster. Does it work good? Yes, but the problem is that it doesn't have all of the crazy features that would make me say this thing needs to cost that much. There's not a whole lot of tech built into this. You do get a nice rechargeable battery. It does work really well. Comes with a ton of ammo, and I'm sure that's most of the cost of the blaster. You're talking that's $40 MSRP just for the rounds if you were to go like out of Darts' shop and buy the 100 round rival packs, you know, original manufacturer ones. Not counting headshot ammo or anything like that. But even if you count like the $40 in ammo, and then the 30, maybe 40 MSRP for the battery, which is ridiculous, but maybe, what you're left is still nothing really crazy. This little indicator LED thing doesn't do anything super special. And I think that's kind of the issue. Like, you would buy this thing and you'd have fun with it. If you go to Nerf Wars regularly, like I am blessed to be able to do, then you could get a lot out of it. But it's still doesn't have all the crazy features that something that costs that much should have. It doesn't have anything it could have. It couldn't have an ammo counter. It could have that. Adjustable fire rate, adjustable velocity, all sorts of things they could have very easily put in this blaster, and they didn't. Make no mistake, the Prometheus is an excellent blaster, but it is not $200 excellent. In fact, it's not even $150 excellent. If you can get the thing for around $130, I would say you'd have a good case for it. If you can get it for under $100, it's a definite buy. Even if you're not into Rival, at that price point, I would say pick up a Prometheus. It's gonna make you sing its praises, because this thing is fantastic. But for what they want for this thing right now, for what Hasbro thought they could get away with, making a standard blaster that does really nothing special for $200 flippin'. I can't say that was a choice made in good faith. I really don't, and unfortunately, it's being discounted pretty much everywhere, and it might just be one of those things that goes on sale constantly because nobody's really buying them. You look at this thing on the box, like, wow, it's a gigantic Nerf blaster, has 200 rounds of rechargeable battery. That's it. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything cool or anything special beyond that, and that is why the Prometheus may be one of the best blasters that Hasbro has ever produced, but even then, it's hard for me to recommend it. But let me know what you think about the Prometheus down in the comment section below. I have not seen any other review about this blaster. I picked it up after seeing it at a war because it was like a lot thinner than I thought it was, and I was like, this is it. This is right here, the blaster I've been wanting to build for a very long time. Instead of like busting everything and trying to make this thing do things it's not supposed to do, I could just buy a Prometheus and do what I need to do to it, and it would work perfect for my plans. So you will see this thing again in the future, and I do plan on pretty much destroying it and rebirthing it as something completely different. But I would like to hear your feedback about this blaster, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you personally feel like it was worth that price tag, but I'll tell you what, I sure as heck don't. This has been WalcomS7. Thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta up,